here this evening. Welcome. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. Bathrooms are to your right as you exit the door at the rear of the room. Please do silence your electronic devices so that you do not disrupt the meeting. This meeting is being videotaped, and the videotape will be available via YouTube and through our website at ANC6E.org shortly after the meeting. We have a special guest this evening, which I'm sure is the reason why we have a few extra people than we normally do. We do have a number of seats towards the front. If you're standing in the back, please do avail yourselves of the opportunity to sit down. I call the attention of the Commission to the agenda, and I would request a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved. Seconded.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Brown and seconded by Commissioner Jaffe. We approve the agenda as printed. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. As is our practice, we always have our friends in blue from the Metropolitan Police Department come up first so that they can address the community, get feedback, and get back onto the streets, keeping us all safe. So I'll invite the representative from District 1, if there is present.
Yes, sir. I think Commander Emmerman from 3 is going to give an overview.
We're consolidating tonight,
Okay.
Commissioner. How you doing? Firstly, good evening, everybody. I'm Commander Emmerman of the 3rd District. With me is our Patrol Chief of Patrol Services North, Chief Lamar Green. Just give him a quick second.
Yeah, I just wanted to come out and meet everybody, introduce myself. Chief Newsham back in April, realigned the Patrol Services Bureau due to the retirement of Chief Diane Grooms. He looked at the size of our Patrol Services Bureau, the span of control of that bureau. He divided the bureau into 2 different pieces. He has a Patrol North now and a Patrol South. I'm the chief that runs the Patrol North. So I was given the pleasure of running Patrol North. That would be the 2nd District, 3rd District, 4th District, and 5th District. I'm going to leave a number of cards in the back so that if you need to contact me, you can. And Commander Emmerman will give the crime report for the entire 6E, which includes all 3 districts.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, the ANC6E includes a large portion of the 3rd District, the 1st District, and a small sliver of the 5th District. So what we have produced tonight, actually, I think for the benefit of time here, Commissioners, is we were able to put together an ANC6E crime stats, so that just applies to the ANC versus hearing from every single little sliver of a district. So in our 30-day comparison of 2017 versus 2016, we have a 45% reduction in violent crime in 6E, as well as a 45% reduction in property crime in 6E, for a grand total of 45% reduction. We're looking at, when we compare 60 days, a 29% reduction in violent crime, 32% in property crime, and a 31% in our overall. Our year-to-date for all of 6E versus 2016 has a 25% reduction in violent crime, a 19% reduction in property crime, and that rounds out to a 20% reduction in overall crime. The only uptick that we've seen in the past recent year, and as well as in the past recent months, is we have seen an increase in our assaults with a dangerous weapon, our ADWs. That includes our domestic ADWs, our non-domestic. That also include our knives. Those include pointing weapons. Those include shooting weapons. We have seen an increase in that. I know in the 1st District as well as the 3rd District, we have made some arrests in some of those cases. We do have a few that are still open that we're working on. We've also made quite a few gun recoveries in this area as part of our investigations into those, but we still have a lot of work to do. We've gotten some great cooperation from the community. I can always stress to the community the mayor's camera rebate program, which I know the ANC has advertised out to everybody. Our footage that we have been able to get from some of our cameras has been very beneficial to us in helping close some of these crimes. And I know we continue to work with our other government agencies, our Court Services and Offender Supervision Agency, along with our other district partners here in Washington, D.C. Aside from that, I think that's pretty much...
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
Is there any updates, I know we asked last month, to the incidents that took place in September at the 2nd Northwest Cooperative?
Well, the one incident that we had there, that was the shooting where we made 2 arrests and recovered 3 weapons on that one. We have yet to identify the 3rd shooter in that case. I believe, and I apologize because I didn't pull it up, my password had to reset. So I believe that the 2 individuals in that were held in that case, but I don't think they have come up for trial as of yet. I can check and let the commission know. I know there were several incidents of what we had gunshots shortly after, as well as I think before that incident, in the general area where we had windows and property damaged. Those cases still remain open and still under investigation. There was at one point, our intelligence unit was looking to see if this was a beef between 2 neighborhoods. We were exploring into that. There was some information that led us to think that that was the case. I know the 1st District used some overtime initiatives down in that area. We deployed our light towers in those areas, along with some of our mobile cameras, as well as increasing our deployment. And I know we haven't had a shooting down there, I believe, since then. I'd have to double check. It's been in that area, in that 400 block area. So again, those cases are still being investigated, but I do know we did make, at least in that specific case, 2 arrests and 3 gun recoveries. Any other questions from the
Other
council?
questions from members of the commission?
No.
Hearing none, questions from the community? Wow, that's unusual. Usually,
See, when I package it all nicely in that 6E stat, see?
Why do you suspect either, you get, the data says it, but what has changed, would you say, that has brought those statistics down? What has been done differently that you believe could be attributed to that?
Well, I think a lot of it is, community assistance, eyes and ears of the community, calling in suspicious individuals that the community sees out there. A lot of it's also the outreach that we've done. Folks know that there's cameras out there. They know that there's a good chance you're going to get caught in doing things. A lot of it's also our gang intervention. We're out there trying to work with these individuals who are involved in some of these crews and gangs to say, hey, look, this is what's going to happen when you choose that lifestyle. It's also working with some of the other government agencies, employment services, getting some of these guys jobs, getting some of them the mental health needs that they have. Remember, not all of our ADWs are, and I use ADW as a term, assault with a dangerous weapon. Not every ADW is a shooting. It's also can involve knives. It can involve beating somebody with a pool cue. It can involve various things. So it's not always a turf thing, a gang thing. It could be a mental health consumer with a baseball bat chasing somebody down. So there's a lot of things that go into that that we're working on in a lot of these cases. Also, our patrol tactics. I think a lot of it is getting the officers out, getting them visible, getting them in the community, getting them engaged with the community. I think that's really an important thing that goes a long way towards reducing crime.
So there's one specific section on N Street between 6th and 7th, there's a park. I walk past it on my way to and from work every day, and I, at least a few times a week, see drug deals happening, and you can be people smoking marijuana there, you can smell it profusely. I never see actual people, either walking patrol or cars trying to intervene with that.
We've done some work up there. We have made, and I can pull the stats for you, I know we have made some arrests for the public consumption of marijuana in that park, because I know we had a homicide, and I know Commissioner Wigginson, remember back in, I think it was early part of the, I'm sorry, it was not a homicide, it was a homicide last year, right?
That was at the other
Right.
side.
On the north side, right. So I know shortly after that, we were up in that area doing a lot of work up there. We have and we will continue to do so. And when you see something like that, some activity like that, please don't hesitate to call it in 911 so we can make sure it's on our radar. Because again, you have many more eyes than we have out in the community. So when you see it and we're not doing it and we're not up in that area, maybe because we're busy, maybe because we don't even know what's going on. So we definitely ask the community to let us know about things like that.
What's the right number to call for that?
Anytime you see suspicious or criminal behavior, call 911. They handle all calls, non-emergency and regular. If it's something that is let's say a chronic issue, it's not going on right now, you can always email me, the commander, or our sector captain, who's Captain Gary Scott. All of our information is on the MPD website, our email addresses. Something that's a chronic that, hey, every Tuesday at 2 o'clock there's a van that pulls up, that you can send us to an email. But if there's something going on right now, call 911. I'll be honest, I try to monitor my emails as best I can. I don't always do it 24/7. So I've had people email me at 3 in the morning and get mad at me because I didn't respond until 7 a.m. when I woke up. So I don't want you to think that emailing is the best way.
Did we get a replacement for Lieutenant
Netter?
Netter?
No, we have not as of yet. We are in the process right now. Captain Scott is kind of supervising some of the day work crews there. We are in the process right now. The department is going through a promotional evaluation, ranking people to be promoted. So I'm hopeful that any vacancies that we have will be filled with, hopefully by the beginning of the year.
We're just about to the end of it, so we should have some fillers for those positions.
There are a lot of vacancies.
We have a couple at 3D as far as lieutenants go, yeah. So we're doing well right now, but again, you always have me and we have 3 sector captains, so we always do have somebody available who's always there for you.
And this is not your district, but 5D, the small section by Dunbar, N Street, Morgan, Kirby. We brought this up, I think, because it's such a sliver that is kind of, New York Avenue cuts it off as well as North Capitol. It doesn't get the right attention it needs, and with the students there coming back at school, I've requested this 2 times now, and there's not a strong presence, especially when school gets out and students are out there. I find knives in yards and, people in the alley doing stuff, so we need to make sure that people are patrolling that at those times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll make sure, I'll take care of that.
And the 5th district does fall also under Chief Green, so that's, you got the right guy here.
Well, great. Oh, one question in the back?
Yeah, I think I read in the listserv that there were a couple ADWs right around this corner, maybe a couple months ago, 1700 block at 7th Street. Do you have any recollection or follow-up on that?
We had one, I want to say, to be honest, I'm not sure how many months ago it was, but we had an incident where somebody had gone behind, I think, Gibson and discharged a firearm. And if I believe correctly, that's one where we pursued it over in New Jersey Avenue. I can get the information and get back. I'll give you my card before I leave.
Okay, I thought there was one that was like right around the library. 1 or 2 more recently. I just don't
There was
remember.
an incident where a fairly well-known bartender was the victim of an attack.
7th and Q.
Yeah.
7 and Q. I'll be honest, I don't off the top of my head have the information on that, but I'll give you my card and we can make sure that I get it also back to you, Commissioner Potter.
All right, well, that's the fastest wrap-up that we've had from our friends at MPD in a long time. We thank you for the great attention and all the hard work that everyone at MPD has been doing on all of our behalfs to try to keep us all safer.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, everybody, for the continued support.
Appreciate it. Good morning.
Just wanted to express the Commission's thanks to the owners of the new Angel Share Wine and Liquors who provided the water for us tonight. There's water in the back. Hopefully everyone is taking advantage of that. Appreciate the support. They'll be opening up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Council Member Allen will be there for a ribbon cutting at 9:30. So I'm trying to determine whether the mayor is actually here. Does anyone know? Not yet. Is she here yet? She's not here yet. Okay. So we're going to move on to our first item of business, and then we'll come back to the mayor's presentation after she arrives. 601 K Street Northwest. This is a request for support for Board of Zoning Adjustment application for a special exception to operate a bar in the penthouse of a new hotel. So you're going to brief us on the changes to the historic preservation project, and you had some drawings that you were going to share.
I did. We were told no projector, just plans.
At this point, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So we're talking. I'm Drew Turner. I'm with Douglas Development Corporation, and I'm here to speak about the project we have at 6th and K Street. We are proposing a 235 key hotel right next to the Shook Vegetarian Restaurant and AMC. Currently, it's parking there, and then there's a small white historic building there. That building is a historic building, and we presented this project to the ANC several months ago, and our original plan was to preserve that historic building. In working with Office of Planning and DC Preservation League, they have agreed to allow us to actually relocate that building from the corner here at 60 K Street to the corner here at 60 K Street. It operated as a gas station. It has not operated as a gas station for several years, but we will be repurposing it to appear as what it was in its original use. And I will show you very briefly that plan here. So here is the view of Caddy Corner, the opposite corner. So Right here, we have K Street frontage. We have the old paint store that was right here. I'm sure many of you are familiar with, there's an alley here. There's a small old building that we'll be tearing down here. And we're actually planning on preserving a building that's up on Dunnage right now. If you've been in the neighborhood, you've seen it. That's the old Hodges Roast Beef Shop that was before my time. Apparently it's delicious. And it was over where ANC currently sits today. So that's going to be on the alley. And then the waffle shop, which was at 10th and F Street originally, we're preserving that. That was part of an agreement with DC Preservation League. We'll be rebuilding that here. And then this gas station is actually the white building that's on the caddy corner where this hotel will be. So we'll be relocating that. And what that does is that allows us to take any of the relief that we were seeking previously for this project on the corner. We no longer need to seek the relief that we were seeking here previously. It was loading berth relief, it was closed court relief, as well as building frontage on the property line of K Street. We no longer are seeking those areas relief. Today, we're really here seeking the special exemption for penthouse use. We very likely will have a bar or restaurant use on the penthouse of this building. It may be an extension of the hotel, it may be third-party operated, open to the public, not necessarily people staying at the hotel. We're still in the early planning phases, we don't have a flag on board yet, but we are seeking a special exemption for that penthouse use. In working closely with the ANC, we've agreed to set the hours of operation for that penthouse bar today, though we don't know exactly what the use is. We've agreed to no later than midnight, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturdays, closing at 2 a.m., similar to the other bars and restaurants in the neighborhood. So parking was one of the items in terms of entry to the building. We are working to incorporate a lay-by, which is not something typical for DDOT, but we're working very closely with the ANC as well as with the CID to allow DDOT some flexibility on those rules to create a lay-by here at the entrance to just help with the traffic congestion. People pick up, drop off at the hotel as well as valet. It'll be oriented here on K Street at this lay-by. We're pursuing it. We're not guaranteeing it today, but we're guaranteeing that we'll be behind it and support the effort to implement this with DDOT. So that's where we stand today, and we're here seeking support on the penthouse special exemption.
Commissioner Muriel, this is in your single-member district. Any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Drew and I wanted to thank Douglas. I think, in seeking this exemption, we did something a little bit that's a little unusual in setting particular usage terms before an operator is even selected. So, I appreciate you looking out for the neighborhood and, understanding what the limits and the norms are and reflecting that in these preliminary agreements. So, you have my support.
Commissioner Brown, do you have a report from the Zoning, Planning, and Transportation Committee?
Yes, we met last Thursday and Drew and company presented. We feel that the ANC6E should support this project. We feel that it's not a precedent setting and it's something that we've been doing all the time, but the special exception to make this a bar would be fitting within that community.
Great. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments from members of the public?
One quick question, do you have an anticipated start completion based on?
So we have our BZA hearing November 22nd, and we will, as soon as we have that, we'll kick off our design full speed ahead, and we expect to be under construction toward the later part of 2018, and then 18 months from then to opening.
Commissioner Mario, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that 6E support the exemption to permit a bar or restaurant at the top of the penthouse, and that we communicate that support to the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
A couple of friendly amendments, specifically citing the address 601 K Street Northwest. And I'd also like to recommend that we make this contingent on a letter from Douglas Development agreeing to the terms that had been mentioned related to the restrictions on hours for the rooftop operation, and be incorporated in a future lease.
Absolutely, yeah. He gave me a copy of the letter, and I think that's very good amendments.
Second motion. Any further discussion on the part of the commission? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, and for the record, since our record keeper is using the videotape today, Commissioner Muriel made the motion and I seconded it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've been joined by the Honorable Muriel E. Bowser, Mayor of the District of Columbia. We're very grateful to have the opportunity to have you here this evening to have you update us on the state of the district and your vision, and also to have the opportunity to exchange ideas and also to get some feedback from some of your agency directors and team members about some of the pressing issues in our community. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming.
Do you have a microphone for you here?
Okay, is it amplified? Or is that us, our mic, which means it's not amplified? Okay,
Yeah.
so I will speak up. Good evening, everybody. I am delighted to be here. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for giving me some time on the agenda. And it is certainly my intent to be able to provide the update that I'm going to give you to all of our ANCs. And over the last 3 years, we've hit just, is it on? Okay.
I can't get you from distance.
Okay, so to make a presentation similar to this to all of our ANC commissions. So let me just also mention that I have asked several of my agency directors to join me. I'll give them 1 minute to tell you something interesting that's going on in their agency, and I'll talk for about 2 or 3 more minutes, and I'll leave all of the time that you have for me for questions. So let me start with Director Anderson, who is the Director of Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, everyone. Keith Anderson, Director of DC Department of Parks and Recreation. Our days are getting shorter, the nights are getting colder, and the holidays are fast coming, which means a lot of us turn into couch potatoes around this time. But we have something for you. Our winter registration for our programs at DPR just began, so whether you're 8 years old or 80, we have a program to fit your needs. Right at the Kennedy Recreation Center, so visit us at dpr.dc.gov and find a program for your family, yourself, or one of your neighbors. So good evening and very nice seeing everyone. Again, visit us at dpr.dc.gov.
Thank you. Director Shorter is the Director of DPW.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Chris Shorter, Director of DPW here in the district. Many of you who live in the district have gotten your leaf brochures, and so you know the schedule and when our crews will be coming to your neighborhoods to collect leaves. We'll be doing 2 one-week passes in your neighborhood. The leaf collection season will last from this Monday, yesterday, through January 13th. And after January 13th, we'll be collecting holiday trees on your recycling day. So we ask that you put your holiday trees out the week that we come to collect your recycling. All right. Obviously, if there are any questions, we're happy to answer those questions. And I know that there was one question about trash and recycling, and I'm happy to answer after. All right.
Okay, thank you, Director. Director Gillis is the Director of the District's Department of General Services. Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greer Gillis. I am the Director of the DC Department of General Services. We are the implementing agency for many of the agencies here, including Department of Parks and Rec. So, if you've got an issue or something you'd like to make us aware of with regards to any recreation center or parks, that's what we're here for. But we're also the mayor's construction arm. So when she needs us to go out and build whatever needs to be built in the city, that's where we're coming in. So we are making sure that not only that we stand up our school construction, getting ready for our busy summer portfolio, but also looking forward to the demolition of DC General this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Marushian is the Director of the District's Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Good evening, everybody. Jeff Meridian, Director of DDOT. We're the agency that builds and maintains our city's public infrastructure. We are about halfway through the 6th Alley Palooza campaign. As many of you know, we are aggressively working to build and repair alleys all across the city. Since the mayor launched this initiative in 2015, We have restored almost 400 alleys, and we will continue that effort aggressively. And we're gearing up to apply that same level of energy and focus to repaving our city's local streets.
Thank you. Director Bowling is the director, and she's bringing her back, so I'm going to bring this to her. The district's DCRA.
Good evening. I'm Melinda Bowling. I'm the director of the DC Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, which is your building and licensing department. We're focusing on safe and simple, so we're bringing you all kinds of solutions so that you can build something or tear something down, making it safe for you and making the process simple. So if there's anything you need to build or license that you need to get that's a non-health professional, please come see us.
Okay. And LaQuandra Nesbitt is the director of the district's Department of Health.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. LaQuandra Nesbitt. I'm the director of the DC Department of Health, affectionately known sometimes as DC's doctor. So I'm just here to remind everyone that open enrollment is ahead of us, and for those of you who need to get insurance, or you know someone who needs to get insurance, open enrollment began last week. There's a lot of chatter going on nationally about people's opportunity to purchase health insurance, and here in the District of Columbia, under the leadership of our mayor, we've made the decision to extend open enrollment for our residents to January 31st, 2018. So people do have that opportunity here in the District of Columbia, despite what you hear about what opportunities people have in other states. So please make sure to spread the word that people have until January 31st, but we want people to also know it's important to get your coverage by December 15th, if you get your insurance by December 15th, if you need coverage by January 1st. So that's really important, a message we want our residents to know, because they may get information from other places that in DC, we value them, and our values are different, and they can get their coverage through January 31st.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Tanya Royster is the director of the department's district's behavioral health agency.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tanya Royster, Director of the DC Department of Behavioral Health, where we're responsible for the public behavioral health system, which includes all the mental health and substance use disorder services that the district offers. We're very excited that we've been increasing we call it in-reach and outreach. So we are doing many more events, and we encourage you, if you have any events in your ANC area, be that school events, church events, community events, walks, we want to be there. We want to provide information. We also go out to street corners, so you can let us know if you see hot spots that we don't, and we're offering people services and trying to get them in to get the care they need.
Thank you, Doc. We are also joined by our Assistant Chief of Police. Thank you for being here, Chief. Kimberly Bassett, who is Director of the Mayor's Office on Women's Policy. Reverend Bowen, I believe, is here, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Religious Affairs. So I brought them because they're going to answer all the hard questions. But there probably aren't any here in 6E. But let me just say that we are doing things, it's hard to believe, in our administration for the third time. We've submitted 3 balanced budgets, invested in 3 Safe Summer initiatives. I've sent 3 legislative packages to the council this fall, and we have gone through the budget process and audit process for our government 3 times. And I'm happy to report that we've gotten, for 2 consecutive years, 3 clean budgets with no material weaknesses in our audits, which means that our government operations are running in the way that we would expect. More importantly, according to all the good government standards that everybody expects. So I'm very proud of the work that our team is doing. I'm also proud that our budgets have reflected our values and reflect the priorities that you sent me down to City Hall to work on. I'll start with affordable housing, which continues to be one of the biggest concerns that we hear in neighborhoods across the district. We've been able to double our commitment through the Housing Production Trust Fund. When I became mayor, we were spending about $50 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund, and in each of my 3 budgets, we've been able to invest over $100 million in affordable housing. We've been very focused as well on homelessness, and in a city like ours that has a right to shelter in the hypothermia months, how we really focus on our system so that our system is being used for emergencies, and affordable housing, and the queue for affordable housing is being handled by our housing agencies. So we have really spent 3 years focusing on transforming that system. So it's truly an emergency-based system. We've sent some legislative changes to the council last year and again this year, and actually today the council approved a very and a much-needed bill so that we can manage the emergency intake into our city. We have seen fantastic increases in family homelessness. We've been very focused on single homelessness and how we get more people into shelter, and very focused on making sure that people are in safe shelter and not out on the streets. So we're going to continue that focus. We have unprecedented commitment and resources to making sure that homelessness, if someone experiences it, that it's a rare experience, is non-recurring, and it's a brief experience. So we will continue to keep you updated on all the work that we're doing to serve our homeless neighbors. We've also been very focused on the things that have led to the renaissance of our city, and that's public safety, and that's also schools. I was very pleased earlier in the year to appoint Peter Newsham to be the chief of police. Pete has 28 years with MPD, well respected among the troops and communities. And he's leading with a fantastic force, really significant reductions in crime across the city. In every violent crime category. We bring out a slide that shows kind of where we were when I started as mayor and the work that we've been able to do in communities together to get violent crime down in our city. There's still work to do, and so the chief is always looking for ways to adjust if we need to, deployments across the city. Last week I was able to report to the council a very important number. Many of you know how fast we've grown as a city, and we have to maintain our ranks. And some years back, in the 90s, there was a flood of hiring in MPD. And many of those officers are eligible to retire now. So for several years, we've been fighting being able to recruit enough officers to balance the number of officers that are eligible to retire and do retire. So for the first time in 3 years, we're very happy about this, we're positive on our officer numbers, up 84 officers since last year. And so we know now that the policies that we're putting in place to attract new officers and to retain our great officers are really working. So we continue to want to work hand in hand with communities on all the public safety issues that affect us. On schools, I hope that you see all of the great improvements that are going on in schools all around Ward 1 and Ward 6, in all 8 wards in the District of Columbia, but certainly schools that serve your ANC Commission area. We made one of the biggest investments, actually the biggest investments in schools this past year, where we have increased the investment not only in students, but also in teachers. Our teachers were working with no contract for almost 5 years. And now we have been able to come to an agreement with our